Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good day and welcome to this exclusive interview with me, Umar Isa Dandago, on your favorite channel, Mikiya TV. Well, since May 2023, Bola Ahmed Tinubu has been ruling Nigeria, even though since it's a democracy, not with an iron fist, but applying measures that have made life pretty much difficult and more miserable than the one that the citizens had lived for 8 years of former President Muhammadu Buhari. Right now, prices have skyrocketed. The value of Naira has drastically gone down and the subsidies removed, all in the name of fixing the country's ailing and broken economy, battered by the country's long and somewhat unwise dependence on oil and the incessant borrowing from IMF and World Bank, whose policies, as said by a university professor, have never allowed any country in a condition similar to ours to thrive. And a lot of Nigerians are blaming the ruling party, the APC, for being behind all the suffering that the people have found themselves in. My guest today is Malam Bala Ibrahim, and he is the national spokesperson for the ruling party, the APC, the party in question that has been ruling the country for nearly a decade now. How can he convincingly convince the people in the country that there is light at the end of the tunnel? Well, Malam Bala Ibrahim, the national spokesperson for the ruling party APC, joins me right now physically in the studio. Thank you very much indeed for coming on the show.
Thank you, Umar, for having me. It's my pleasure being here.
All right, Malam Bala Ibrahim, let me start with this question. In a media chat earlier this week in Lagos, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu said he does not regret removing fuel subsidy. Did you expect him to say that, given the sheer enormity of the suffering that the people of Nigeria are in?
Well, thank you for having me on the show. And I expect the show to be a realistic show. A show that will entail telling the truth and engaging in frank discussion.
Yeah.
The media chat, which was the first to be conducted by the president since he assumed office, is actually a windbreaker. Windbreaker in the sense that the president has courageously addressed the concerns of most people with regards to the decisions that have been taken, whether or not those decisions were taken intentionally and with the object of putting the country in proper line. That address now has kicked away all the shenanigans with regards, look, after a lot of hues and cry, the government is going to change style and tactics. No. I'm happy at the very beginning you talk about a country that is having a battered economy. Once an economy is battered, and there is also the belief that the government that is in power is all out to effect some corrections, it means there were some mistakes. Correction comes only when there are mistakes or when there is mistake.
Definitely.
So, and this
made
is
by the same party you belong to.
No. The mistakes, you see, this party, the All Progressive Congress, is in power for barely 10 years.
10 years, yeah.
But before then, there was another party, the People's Democratic Party, that ruled for 16 years. And I would want to call it misrule for 16 years.
Oh,
almost all
misrule.
Almost all the problems the country is facing today are as a result of poor management of the situation, corruption, a refusal to address the issues and take the bull by the horn. Now, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has two choices when he came to power. He can allow it to be business as usual, play a less courageous stance by looking away from the problem and leaving it behind for another leader to come and confront it, or confront it head on, address it and leave a legacy that will remain on end,
as he is doing,
and that is what he has done.
But the country's economy under the ruling, under the leadership of the PDP, was doing well compared to how it is right now. What can you say about this?
Well, it depends on which dictionary you use with regards to the meaning of doing well. We all know that
there was no poverty as it is right now, as there is now.
The indices are not saying that.
Okay.
Poverty has been in partnership virtually with Nigeria since the beginning of time. Nigeria has been blessed with a large population of people, but at the same time, poverty has been residing in Nigeria for a long period of time. It's not the initiative of this government, or it's not the creation of the APC or President Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
I like this metaphor.
But this issue of confronting the issue of poverty has not been done by any leader but Tinubu. He has confronted the problem of poverty in a multifaceted manner. And the way and manner he's doing it is different. It's one that is going to, we will not say there will be light at the end of the, there is light at the end of the tunnel, but we are hoping there will be light at the end of the tunnel.
Okay.
Because
you have not promised change?
Change.
You have not promised improvement?
Improvement, change, improvement. These are the backbone of the mantra of the campaign of the president. That's where the renewed hope agenda came from. It's because there is going to be change, there is going to be hope, there is going to be improvement in virtually everything that is happening in Nigeria. And
you just said that you are not promising light at the end of the tunnel.
No. What I'm saying is, I don't want to be godly. It's only God that will say there is light at the end of the tunnel. But you as a human being, you only hope there will be. There will be. God is the only one that uses affirmative language.
I understand.
Otherwise, you'll be only prayerful. You only be prayerful. We are praying there will be light at the tunnel, at the end of the tunnel.
But if you said this before the election, do you think the people would have voted for you?
Certainly. It's hope. We are hoping. Our mantra was hope, 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 renewed hope. We didn't say must. No, but we are hopeful.
But he said he was the man for the job and he would do it. That's what he said.
That's right.
In multiple places, in Nigeria and outside Nigeria.
He was the man for the job because he prepared for it. Don't forget, the president has said it time without number that his lifelong ambition is to be the president of Nigeria.
Yeah.
And he had done something in Lagos when he was the governor tremendously well. And he wants to replicate that in the whole of the country. And he has started doing that. So he felt he was the man to do the job amongst the contestants. He feels, even if you consider all the contestants bad or you classify them as worst, he is the best among the worst.
He is the best among the worst, which makes him bad also.
No, I say even if you classify all the contestants as bad, even if you classify all the contestants as the worst the country has presented, he is the best amongst them.
Which doesn't make him good.
It makes him good.
It's a language you've just used.
It's a relative term.
Okay.
When you put the position or referential position of items and you classify one as bad, you probably may classify one as better and probably classify another one as good. Now, in that ladder, in that serial arrangement, he was the best among all the candidates that were put forward.
It's just like in the United States of America during the 2024 election, most of the people in the Democratic Party were going for the lesser of two evils, as they say. So now it's the same thing we are having.
Well, that is always the option. If you are confronted with permanent darkness, you look for the slightest chance of light wherever you get it.
Which is Tinubu in this case.
And in this case, Tinubu came out, that is assuming Nigerians want to be completely pessimistic, completely skeptical. They don't see anything good in all the leaders that are presented. Based on whatever they may say, some people look at age, some people look at what they call recycling of people, credibility, what have you. Bola Ahmed Tinubu was head and shoulders above all the people he contested with.
All right, Dr. Mikiya Aliyu, she's an associate professor at BUK, Department of Information and Media Studies, asked me to put this question to you. What could you say about what Tinubu has said? She said, and I quote, could he, that is you, answer for the Tinubu what his campaign mantra, Emi Lokan, that is, it is my turn, means? Does it mean his turn, Tinubu's turn, will further make us go through more hardship? That's from Dr. Mikiya.
Okay. Thank you for that question. To to correct or make sure that there is no ambiguity, for one, I am not Tinubu's spokesperson. Neither have I consulted him before answering this question. But the emilekon he said was to the hearing of everyone. And if we take it in context, it's a Yoruba term for "it is my turn." Now, in a constitutional democracy, and in a democracy whereby, like Nigeria is practicing, an arrangement was entered into gentlemanly that power will oscillate between one segment of the country and another. Kind of, when power is in one block, that block will exercise power, and the other block will exercise patience until the end of the agreed period. Then it moves to the other part. So there is a gentlemanly agreement that power will rotate between the north and the south.
Okay.
Now, depending on where you belong, as long as we go by that gentlemanly arrangement, which although is not in the constitution, but it has been agreed and established, if the north is about to leave power, whoever is qualified in the south is legitimately right to claim that, yes, I can contest because it is the turn of my section. Now, if you go by that provision, and Tinubu as an aspirant then, and coming at the wee hours of the time of President Muhammadu Buhari, he has a right, I repeat, he has the right to say, it is my turn. Okay. By my turn, it may not necessarily mean singularly him, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, but the turn of my area.
Okay.
So it all depends on how you look at it.
It's linguistics.
Linguistics.
Okay. But the problem is that this would further suppress other people who may be more qualified even than him to take part or to come out and contest. That's the problem. This is democracy, not a dictatorship.
When he said, it's my turn, he didn't say, and it's only me, I must be the one and the only one to do it. No. He means he is eligible. He is qualified. He is legitimately entitled to make claim. And anyone who puts himself into the race will go through the rigors of competition, and if he emerge winner, so be it.
Oh,
he
really?
didn't. Yes, he didn't say it has to be confined to the four walls of my house, and that is what will happen. No.
And the delegates would vote for that person that comes out to challenge Bola Tinubu in the next 2027 election?
Of course. Of course.
No
he's not
threats,
going to be. He's not. No, but
no,
you see,
no intimidation.
Well, you see, in democracy and in the third world politics, people always hide under the cover of intimidation, harassment, what have you. But they cannot prove. They cannot prove.
But they are
real. See, Tinubu emerged the candidate of the party at an open congress, open at the Eagle Square. If people
marred by allegations of,
Well, I'm happy you said allegation. And allegations remains allegation until proven.
Okay.
For so long as there is no proof, that is why after the congresses, after the convention, allowance was made for those who feel otherwise about the outcome to go to court. They can challenge it. Now, if they challenge it, it is left for the judiciary to adjudicate and see whether there is any material to prove that there were those things you are alleging. If there are none, substantially what has happened has happened.
The problem is this guy came to power as the president of Nigeria through ways that, well, are termed and marred with some irregularities and stuff, stuff like that, dishonesty and stuff like that. That itself is a problem. How can you build a legacy on, well, something that nobody trusts?
You see, as long as human beings are the ones that will conduct elections in Nigeria, not angels, this attitude of allegations, accusations will remain. It is just a part of our, I don't know, I don't want to say our culture, but it has been entrenched in our conscience that anything that happens must be viewed with suspicion. After all, even advanced democracies, America is just in the process of inaugurating a new president. But nothing has not been said about the emergence of Trump and how he won the election. So that is America, the biggest democracy in the world. Talk less of Nigeria, that is less than 30 years practicing democracy.
Definitely. So again, Dr. Rukaya Ali said, when I asked her about the suffering that the people have found themselves in as a result of the removal of fuel subsidy, she said, and I quote, "For me, I think no matter that is Tinubu's intent, his measures are too drastic and unfriendly, such that Nigerians feel their feelings and effects of these policies on them are never considered." She continues to say, exchange rate, fuel subsidy removal, electricity subsidy removal, all at a time. I think they are too weighty to bear for any nation. Don't you think that your government should do something about this?
You see, like I said, there are two ways of looking at a problem or a challenge. You either confront it head on, address it, and get going, or you take a cowardice approach and continue to massage it simply because you don't want to be seen as a hard leader. So a leader that has come with the ambition of reform, a leader that has come with the intention of correction, must not expect to be in the good books of the populace, because he is going to bring in changes that will be resisted, that will be frowned out, and people will say all sorts of things. Now the question is, in introducing those reforms and corrections, what matters most is his conscience. If he is acting in accordance with the dictate of his conscience, and his conscience is telling him that he is doing it for good, he must forget about what the people are saying, provided, I repeat, provided he is coming with an honorable intention. And he has a timeline. A tenured leadership is a leadership that is not for an unlimited period. So when you know that you have a time frame within which to see or show certain things, you have got to be moving like in a stampeded manner. And that's exactly what the president is trying to do. Okay, definitely. Much later, I will ask you towards the end about the measures that your government is taking to cushion the effects, the brunt of these effects that we are feeling. But right now, I spoke to Dr. Latiola. He's a political scientist, a lecturer here in Kano, and he said that Tinubu is to blame. He's responsible for everything that is happening. And he said, he asked me to put this question to you. Are all the policies that we have seen from Tinubu, including the loans and the removal of subsidies and stuff like that, in tandem, in line with your party manifestos, or he is just being the boss? Well, you see, as the president, he is the leader of the party. As the president, this is not we're not in the UK operating a parliamentary system of government where the prime minister is the head of the party. This is a presidential system of government. I've never heard Obama being the head of the Democratic Party or Trump being the head of the Republican. Okay, let me tell you how the structure of the party is. The party has a structure, and at the top of that structure is the National Convention. The National Convention, beneath which you have the National Executive Council. Beneath that, you have the National Working Committee. Now, the head of the National Convention is always the president. No major policy decision can be taken without the approval of the National Convention. Now, sometimes this National Convention is conventionally supposed to hold a meeting once every year. But sometimes due to exigencies, it may not be able to do so. Because of that, it delegates its powers to the National Executive Committee. Whatever the National Executive Committee does is like what the National Convention has approved or agreed upon. And the National Executive Committee, which is called abbreviated as NEC, delegates also its powers to the National Working Committee, which is the one that does the day-to-day running of the party.
Yeah.
That National Working Committee is headed by the national chairman of the party. Today, the leader is called Dr. Abdullahi Umar Ganduje.
Yes. The APC
But the
chairman.
National Executive Committee is headed by the president. And I told you the National Executive Committee is at the same level with the National Convention.
Okay.
You cannot have any decision taken, fundamental decision, without the approval of the National Executive Committee. And that National Executive Committee cannot sit without the president.
Okay.
So that's why I said the president is the leader
Of the party.
of the party.
Okay.
He is the leader of the party. He can direct the National Working Committee, which is under Dr. Abdullahi Umar Ganduje, because it is subordinate to it.
Yeah.
So he is the leader of the party.
Which means whether you like it or not, whatever the president brings to the table, all of you will say, yes, we agree.
No, no, no. He does not do things unilaterally.
Okay.
He does so in consultation, because the National Executive Committee is a committee comprising stakeholders and eminent members of the party. It's not to say that he will bulldoze and say, this is what I want done and it must be done. No, no. But he can table it for discussion, and in the wisdom of the NEC, if they so feel, respectfully oblige the wish and the interest of the president, then it becomes binding on the party.
Dr. Musin Ibrahim, who's a lecturer in Cologne in Germany, he said, and I quote, "I have no problem with taking loans as long as the money will be used judiciously." He continues to say Germany recovered after the Second World War due to the aid and loans from the US Marshall Plan. Unfortunately, most loans given to African countries, and I'm sure Nigeria inclusive, are embezzled by a few corrupt individuals. Moreover, why do we need loans now? Where is the money from the fuel subsidy removal?
Okay, you see, when you come with an ambitious project, with the determination and intention to do so many things within so limited a time, sometimes you cannot but carry too many things at the same time. What is important is the machinery you put in place to monitor, oversee, and checkmate to make sure that things are going in accordance. The issue of loan all over the world, loan is another term for other people's money. If you can use someone's money to build yourself, better for you. Your own money is there. You use someone's money. And even in advanced democracy, today, America is the most advanced democracy in the world. America is the most indebted nation in the world. Why are people not pointing accusing fingers at America for being massively industrial, for being massively rich, but still borrowing?
The difference is that the US does not borrow to pay salaries, or does not borrow to do some things that are not sustainable, economically sustainable. The US borrows to do something that in the next couple of years would be able to pay the services of the debts. We're not doing it here.
If you look very well, if you go through and scrutinize the budget proposed by the president, you find that there is no borrowing to pay salaries.
Okay.
Most of the borrowing that will be pumped into projects that are intended to trigger development, to wake up the economy, and see to it that Nigeria strides to a better level.
Okay.
So it is not aimed at paying salaries. It's not. It's not. It's not.
It's not.
It's not.
But
it's
then,
not.
What about the 13 trillion naira aimed, thought to be borrowed and supplement the budget?
Yeah, that is taking advantage of the other people's money mantra that I told you.
So how can we pay the debts while we don't have means of getting revenues? we are only solely dependent on oil?
You see, if you look at the budget, it has been, all the indices are pointed at realistic parameters.
Yes.
The oil we have, we are not relying heavily on oil to finance the budget. We are not relying heavily on solid minerals to finance this thing. We are relying on so many things, including blue economy and digital economy this time around. So you see that there is diversification from the oil to agriculture, solid minerals, blue economy, and digital economy, which in the past we were not utilizing properly.
Okay.
So and even the benchmark that is placed on some of these things, they are realistic benchmarks that whatever happens, we are expecting to remain afloat regardless of the turbulence.
Professor Umar Labdo said federal government has revoked the contract for the Kaduna-Abuja portion of the Kano to Abuja highway and has not re-awarded it yet. Would you like to comment on this?
Well, I think he's behind in information. That contract has been revoked from Julius Berger and awarded to High Tech. What I think he means is that the work has not commenced.
Yeah.
But the contract was revoked. So another company, Messrs. High Tech, was given the contract, and we hope they will commence work in earnest.
Well, before we wrap it up, foreign policy, according to Professor Umar Labdo, the foreign policy of Nigeria is ambiguous. Last we checked, a couple of weeks back, there were no ambassadors outside of Nigeria. Again, you are not speaking on behalf of Tinubu, but yet he is from your own party and you're the national spokesperson for the ruling party. What can you say about how Nigeria asserts itself in the African continent, on the African continent, and globally?
It's meant to get Nigeria to the land of Uhuru. It's going to be ovation at the end of the day, I tell you. But for now, there are pains and cries all over. But at the end of the tunnel, we are expecting to have light.
And we keep hoping, hope, and hope.
Particularly because we came under the mantra of renewed hope.
Contributed to the production of the show. Ibrahim Salis Nasser is the editor. Dr. Ali Musa from Coventry is the producer. My name is Umar Dandago. Saying goodbye and see you very soon. Assalamu alaikum.